On 31st of March 2019, Turkey is heading to the municipal elections. Of course, maybe for you, municipal elections is not that much important, but for the Turkish case, it is a sort of a rehearsal for the general elections. What I'm trying to say is, in terms of the Turkish decision makers, whoever is going to get Istanbul and Ankara is most likely to get the whole Turkey. So it's very critical. It's like a public survey. And as a result, Mr. Erdogan doesn't want to miss any chances. And of course, he would like to get more public approval at home. For instance, last month, again, we have seen a verbal attack against Israel. And this kind of verbal attacks or this kind of statements may come also in the future. We should not be surprised. The most important issue here, for an ordinary Turk, whenever there is a friction between a non-Muslim country and Turkey, it is basically sort of a demonstration of power of the Turkish Republic. That means, from their perspective, Turkey is no longer afraid of the West or the East. I can give you some concrete examples. For instance, of course, this old diplomatic deterioration with Israel is a good example, but not only that. Constantly there's a friction with the United States. Again, since we are speaking about these municipal elections, recently Mr. Erdogan made a very important statement that he would like to give the authorization for the farmers to the farmers so that they can grow cannabis. The cannabis is not an ordinary plant. If we are looking at the bilateral relations between United States and Turkey, we could remember that in 1974 we had the opium crisis or the cannabis crisis. United States wanted Turkey not to plant any cannabis because they thought that it was influencing the U.S. Cannabis consumption. And in 1971, while the Turks accepted the U.S. demand, in 1974, Prime Minister Bülent Ecevit, who also conducted an extraterritorial military operation against Cyprus, he basically rejected the American demand. And as a result, we have witnessed American sanctions against Turkey. So why I am reminding this issue? Because from the Turkish perspective, replanting or reproducing cannabis, it means that we are not getting orders anymore from the United States. And it is very crucial because when you're looking at the Turkey's map, you're going to see the western or southern provinces in Turkey, which means the Aegean provinces and Mediterranean provinces, are the hub of this cannabis growth. In other words, if we are talking about the municipal elections, and if the people who are living in these provinces are mostly farmers, so it means that with this single decision, Mr. Erdogan is touching the lives of hundreds of thousands of farmers. So it means that if you're going to vote for Justice and Development Party, you will be rewarded. And by doing so, he is also creating new job vacancies and job opportunities for the Turkish farmers, which means more money for the Turkish economy. As you know, the Turkish economy is suffering from an unprecedented devaluation, the Turkish lira, as you know. So this is a very wise move because it will also bring more income to the region, new job opportunities, and at the same time it will give a clear message not only to Washington D.C. but also to the Turkish public that the Turkish government is independent and they are not getting any orders from the West, which means this cannabis reform, the 2019 reform, might be considered again as a tool in domestic policy, but with a theme of Turkish foreign policy, as I said before. Another important example is the Uyghur case with China. Another important example of course, is the Russian jet crisis with Russia. The Turkish another important example is Turkey's intervention in German elections, where they put some posters why not to vote for Angela Merkel, because from their perspective the Germans wanted to bar the Turks to make election propaganda in Germany for Germany's Turks. And as a result, you may also remember that Holland declared the Turkish family minister Fatma Kaya as persona non grata. So in the last 2 or 3 years, we witnessed lots of frictions between Turkey and non-Muslim states. Of course, we can also remember how President of Turkey and President of Greece had a very extraordinary press conference where they spoke about whether they should readdress to the fundamentals of Treaty of Lausanne or not. So each of these cases, Mr. Erdogan is an expert of politics, and he's turning all these frictions into a public approval at home. And so, since it's a matter of national interest, also the opposition parties cannot criticize Mr. Erdogan's points of views for the public, and as a result, in political science there is a principle called rallying around the flag. So Mr. Erdogan is capable of rallying his people around the flag, and that's how he is also neutralizing the criticism of the Turkish opposition.